From one soldier to another, the Kenya Air Force salutes the frontline healthcare workers who are at war with the invisible enemy, coronavirus pandemic, and that has taken a very evident toll on lives and economies world over. It has been 40 days since the first case was confirmed in Kenya, and though the end is not in sight yet, we remain hopeful thanks to the many frontliners, especially from the medical sector. And you are, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching us from, appreciated. And yes, with 40 days since the first case was announced, it's the 35th update today that was given earlier by the CAS in health. And we could start with the international figures that have topped over 2.5 million cases of coronavirus confirmed across the globe, with over 171,000 deaths. Now, locally, we have just gone closer to the 300 mark in terms of the cases confirmed, with 15 more having tested positive after 545 samples being tested. And the Ministry of Health is still saying Kenyans should not lower their guard. Up ahead, also on NTV tonight. Tonight, 8 more deaths as rains wreak havoc in various parts of the country.
Mepoteza watoto 4.
Government finally shows up at Chesogon after deserting tragedy struck families.
Baada ya kuidentify kwamba huyu ni wetu, ikawa tena shida kubeba mpaka kufika nyumbani.
Also tonight, frustrated by the government-imposed quarantine conditions, tens escape from KMTC Nairobi.
We are engaging with our security personnel, one, to roll out guidelines for them and, capacity building that enables them, one, to ensure that they are all masked every time they're conducting their surveillance activity. 15 more people test positive while others recover and get discharged. Plus, thousands at border towns at risk of coronavirus infections as custom health stations are under-equipped.
Kupima dereva moja, it takes like 3 hours or 2 hours kama ni less.
And the circumcision rites for various Luya communities will not go on as planned owing to COVID-19.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai.
And you could join us tonight. Flora Tieno is our sign language interpreter. And to our top focus, we exposed and they responded. A day after NTV highlighted the government's zero presence in the search for missing persons following the Chesogon landslide. A day after the tragedy, various security personnel, including military officers, were on the ground earlier this morning. The apparent reactionary move has left a sour taste in the mouths of the community who are in agony, distress, and mourning. Lois Wangoi is still on that story, and she attended the funeral of a teenager whose family felt the void of the government's absence yesterday.
This is Kowo village. It sits under a cloud of sorrow. 14-year-old Winnie Torus, who perished in the Chesogon landslide, is being laid to rest.
Mimi kama baba kweli ni uchungu. Mimi kama mzazi ambaye nilimshika mtoto, nitamiss mtoto kwa sababu tumekuwa tukikaa na yeye kama ile upendo ya baba na mtoto.
The pain of burying a child adds to that of hours of an agonizing search that had a heartbreaking end, with government machinery being a no-show on the day. The teenager's lifeless body was carried from the point of retrieval on an improvised stretcher and carried on foot for kilometers to their home, adding to their distress.
Na kupata tena huyu mwenzetu ikawa tena majungu kwa sababu baada ya kuidentify kwamba huyu ni wetu, ikawa tena shida kubeba mpaka kufika nyumbani. Like sasa huyu mtoto wetu alipatikana pande ya West Pokot na kufukisha mpaka tena mara kwa ikawa tena ni shida. So sisi wenyewe tulibeba, saa hizi nimechoka, wenzetu wamechoka kubeba, tukiwa na machungu tena mpaka kufika hapa nyumbani.
The pain of losing a child engulfs Winnie's mother. She is too emotional to witness the burial. She sits inside this hut as a thorny bush is erected on her gravesite to chase away death-related spirits. According to the Marakwet culture, the shining star has been snuffed out.
Winnie is our second born na amekuwa mtoto mzuri kabisa. Winnie unaweza mtuma yeye 10 times even aende the same place na hawezi complain.
The family's agony was worsened by the lack of government support on the day of retrieval. NTV reported on how the community was left on its own just a day after the tragedy and just hours after leaders showed up, apparently for the cameras. After Monday night report, early Tuesday morning, we arrived to a heavy government presence on Ground Zero. A team of provincial administration officers led by Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembea approached the search from the Pokot side. On the Marakwet side, a disaster management team from Uasin Gishu County.
And so it is devastating to just know that this area was once somebody's house, somebody's farm, and all that is lost.
Mid-afternoon, and a team of officers from the Kenya Defence Forces from the Lanet Barracks gets here. They whisper to me that their brief is to find the 20 missing persons as at Monday night, and the possibilities are grim.
But looking at these rocks, even if a human being was made of stone, you cannot be found by now, because the velocity coming from up the hill.
The soldiers from Lanet Barracks soldier on, the sludge from the massive landslide proving challenging. An hour later, another team of 20 KDF officers join in the search. Between 3 and 4 p.m., the search is intensified.
The RC, another team, search team went down, and we understand they found the body of a girl. Of course, she had already passed on, but we understand a girl has been found.
The swelling grey clouds will soon give in, and down will come the rain. Everybody here needs to move to safety. RC Natembea noted that 2 bodies had been found. The death toll has risen to 14, while 18 persons are still missing. The search resumes Wednesday morning. On this day, we leave Chesogon as a rescue operation is ongoing. The good news is that the residents here are no longer alone. Government has started putting it a step here. But the bad news still remains that some Kenyans are still missing following the landslide here at Chesogon. Lois Wangoi, NTV, the Elgeyo Marakwet County and West Pokot County border points.
We can only hope for the best for the 18 that are missing at the moment. Hopefully they made it to safer ground. And in just the last 3 days of heavy downpour and landslides in different parts of the country, the death toll so far is now at 20. And the latest of which 4 children have died in mudslides or landslides following heavy rains and flooding in parts of Kericho County. Over 800 families have been displaced by floods in Nyando, Kisumu County, and they're calling on the government to speed up rescue efforts to avert a looming crisis, fearing that the latest rains pounding the region could add casualties to an already bad situation. Rose Wangoi has more.
Extremely heavy rains pounding parts of the country, triggering extensive landslides and floods. In Kericho County, 4 children died after a massive landslide hit at least 3 wards in Kipkelion West constituency. The terrain here, just the perfect environment for Mother Nature to wreak havoc on the villagers. The hilly slopes slowly coming down due to the heavy rains that have fallen here. 2 siblings aged 12 and 15 died at Nyasake village in Kamasian ward after a heavy downpour hit the area for 6 hours, causing a landslide which swept away their home.
Alikuwa akilala na ndugu wake mdogo. Sasa huyo ndio nilimwokoa, huyo mwingine akaaga.
The third minor, a 6-year-old, died at Kipkurun village in Kunyak ward, while the 4th victim, a 14-year-old boy, was swept away as he tried to cross Rwandet River in the same ward. All the bodies were recovered and taken to Kericho County Hospital mortuary. As a result of the floods, dozens of families have sought refuge in schools. Livestock buried and property of unknown value was destroyed.
Area kama hizi zetu ni milima na maneno ya ukulima imesidi. Sasa imefanya mchanga iwe nyepesi. Sasa wakati wa mvua kama hii inalete madhara mingi. Tusonge mahali penye ni usalama kidogo, kwa sababu hatuwezi jua muda wenye mvua utachukua.
Tunaambia serikali ya national government ipatie county commissioner wa Kericho helicopter moja ya kumonitor situation katika Kericho county hii.
And in Baringo County, 2 men died after they were buried in a quarry at Pakera in Koibatek after ongoing heavy rains caused a landslide. The workers died after rocks fell on them from above and buried them. A third person who was with them escaped death, thankfully only sustaining minor injuries. More than 800 families remain homeless in Nyando, Kisumu County after they were displaced by flash floods caused by heavy rains in the area. The displaced families have sought refuge in churches and schools, citing horrible living conditions for the displaced households, like the risk of waterborne diseases, malaria, hunger, not forgetting the COVID-19 pandemic threat. The IDPs called on the government to urgently provide relief food, even as they explore a permanent solution. Close to 100 families in parts of Naivasha have relocated to higher grounds following floods occasioned by the ongoing heavy rains. The flooding has rendered some roads impassable, while some houses and buildings in Delamere have been surrounded by water, cutting off access. A truck driver and his turnboy escaped death after a lorry they were travelling in was swept away by floods at River Kawalase, 1 kilometre from Lodo town in Turkana County. The vehicle remained under the heavy waters, making efforts to tow it impossible. Travelers remained stranded while motorists had to park their vehicles by the roadside as water cut through the road. Garissa County Commissioner Meru Mwangi has urged all residents in flood-prone areas to immediately move to safer grounds. Flood-prone areas include Bulakamor, Bulapunda, Bakuyu and Ziwani. Heavy rains are expected to continue throughout this week, as forecasted by the Met Department.
We'll keep monitoring the situation around the country. Now, County 001 has led in the new cases of coronavirus for the second day running, and 7 people were confirmed positive today, and the numbers are expected to unfortunately go up in the coming days thanks to the community, a section of the community that is still not taking the measures seriously. Kevin Mutai reports that there is a section of residents there from the region who are defying the regulations.
The rapid increase of COVID-19 cases in Mombasa is now sending shivers down the otherwise humid coastal line. Residents are rightfully concerned about their safety. The Ministry of Health has confirmed 7 more cases today, raising the total number of coronavirus cases in Mombasa close to 60.
We still have cynical Kenyans who hold the view that this disease is not real. This is very disturbing, particularly in light of the growing numbers of people who are infected.
And perhaps that could be the reason why some people continue defying the guidelines in place to stem the spread of the virus. This amateur video shows hundreds of mourners attending a funeral in Sheriani, Kilifi County, oblivious of the risk of transmission. Again, in this video, some Bamburi residents were filmed imbibing at night against the directive to avoid public gatherings. Such recklessness, the government says, will further expose the county.
Wengine wanaivaa sehemu hii ya uso huku juu na wengine wanaivaa hapa chini. Sasa unangojea mpaka kiongozi aje kuvishe? Au unangojea serikali ije kuvishe?
The infection is increasingly growing within our communities, and it is therefore very critical that we observe very strictly the measures that we've put in place with regard to containment.
So, if the numbers are coming from those either already in quarantine or through contact tracing, then how safe is the entire community?
Inafaa sisi tuingie ndani kwa zile sehemu ambapo tunafikiri haya ugonjwa imesambazwa. Tunataka kuingia kwa hizo sehemu, tuanze kufanya kitu tunaita targeted testing. Kwa hivyo testing yetu itapanuka na itakwenda kwa hizo sehemu hizo ambapo tunaisema ni high risk areas.
There are fears that the numbers could still rise in the coming days if the government does not get to all infected persons still mingling with other residents in the region. Thousands of residents from Mombasa and Kilifi are expected to benefit from free food distribution launched yesterday. In Mombasa, the exercise is monitored through a digital platform that confirms if the items have been received by the intended people. Meanwhile, mass testing is still going on at the port of Mombasa. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
Tonight we can report that thousands of residents at the Malaba, Busia and Isebania borders are at risk of contracting the coronavirus. Over 3,000 drivers who have been camping there are waiting to be screened and tested by authorities along the Uganda-Kenya, Kenya and Tanzania borders. Setolale has just landed back from the various border points with a multi-agency team that has been inspecting these areas and reports that they are porous.
A 10-kilometer stretch of tracks waiting to cross into Uganda, probably a common sight at the Malaba 1 border point in Busia. The trailers snaking for kilometers here would normally be experienced when customs officials are overwhelmed. But what you see is as a result of the COVID-19 screening of drivers at the stations. But this perhaps is counterproductive, as other drivers mingle freely with residents as they wait to be cleared by officials. There are an estimated 200 trucks with 3,000 drivers from either side of the border stalled in Malaba town for at least a week. Truck drivers ferrying goods into Uganda have to undergo a 14-day quarantine at the entry point in Malaba, but the quarantine here is not in the strict sense of the word, as they still mingle with the locals.
Tunaona kwa gari, tunaona kwa madereva hana chakula, mahali ya kuoga hakuna. Inakuwa wizi, inakuwa mingi kwa barabara.
Kupima dereva moja, it takes like 3 hours or 2 hours kama ni less. So hiyo unapata kwa siku ni dereva kama 10 wanaweza pimwa, na it takes 2 days kupata results. So ina delay upande wa clearance, that's why unaona foleni imeenda mpaka mbali sana, over 5 kilometers.
They come and spend most of the time here and mingle with the people, and it's the greatest fear that we have to manage it. First, we have to have a trailer park where they can be stationed before they cross.
In addition, while Kenyan custom health officials are only checking temperatures, the Uganda counterparts are conducting comprehensive process, including testing samples before clearing truck drivers.
We have, as part of our expanded targeted testing, planning to do tests here. We will be able to collect samples and be able to process them elsewhere in the beginning and report the results. But we are also working on programs to try to actually do tests on the spot.
The situation is mirrored at the Busia border point. According to the county leadership, health workers at the customs have inadequate masks, sanitizers and staff training. Busia County has no single operational ICU.
Then in the protection of the PPEs for our health workers, they are scared to work without those ones. I think that's a very, very urgent thing that should be addressed.
The challenges experienced at the Malaba and Busia borders are also being experienced at the Kenya-Tanzania Isebania border.
In terms of human resources, in terms of equipment and even utility vehicle that can shuttle around with the suspected cases to designated quarantine centers. So those ones are still lacking.
Look at gaps that are there that we can be able to address. Fourth, to recommend on what actions to be taken both right here and what we are required to go and do in Nairobi. That is why we were in Taita Taveta, Kwale and Kajiado yesterday, Lungalunga, Namanga and Taveta.
It is feared that carriers of the deadly virus are penetrating into either side of the borders. Now, officials are warning that this could be a time bomb and want the national and county governments to take action immediately. Seth Olale, NTV at the Isebania, Kenya-Tanzania border point.
Tens of people have been reported to have escaped from the quarantine center that is at the Kenya Medical Training College here in Nairobi along Mbagathi Way, beg your pardon. This comes as the COVID-19 positive cases in the country continue to rise, with 15 more people having been confirmed. Helen Aura reports on the breakout from the outbreak containment centers.
Right from the point of arrest to the quarantine facilities, police officers have been seen mishandling those who have been arrested with no regard for social distancing. On the other hand, those in quarantine are now being forced to pay hefty prices.
This video of people jumping over the wall at Kenya Medical Training College along Bagathi Way shows the extent to which some of the people who are in state-imposed quarantine are frustrated and have opted to escape from the facility, which to them has become a prison.
Indeed, we've received reports from KMTC. We saw the news circulating through social media, and we've activated channels through the Ministry of Interior, who are following up on this issue, and we'll be able to update you once all the information is collected and the investigations are undertaken.
Many of those in quarantine at this facility and others are low-income earners who are expected to pay 2,000 shillings per day, which amounts to 28,000 shillings for the 14 days. They claim that they cannot afford it, and therefore some decided to escape. The concerns over the exposure to infection in police cells and quarantine facilities is being fueled by the way police are handling the arrested and quarantined.
We are engaging with our security personnel, one, to roll out guidelines for them and, capacity building that enables them, one, to ensure that they are all masked every time they're conducting their surveillance activities.
This comes as 15 more people have been confirmed as having tested positive, increasing the national number to 296. The country's death toll still stands at 14, with 74 people having recovered after 5 new discharges. Mombasa recorded 7 cases, Nairobi 6 cases, and Mandera 2 more cases.
We note that there are some of us who continue to disobey the measures and regulations announced by the government. I would like to remind you that we are in a war situation against an enemy that is not a respecter of age, status, gender, race, and religion.
Helen Aura, NTV.
And just this evening, we can report that various people who had been quarantined at the KMTC Center there have been taken back to the police stations where they were booked after arrest and have been told to pay cash bail. Now, it is not going to be accepted, at least those who've tried to pay through mobile money transactions have been told they have to pay in cash. And of course, at this time, people have been discouraged to handle money and they have been stranded. And we're following up this particular story that various people who had been quarantined at that center, where it's been reported that some escaped yesterday, that they have been taken to the police stations that they were arrested at and ordered to pay their cash bail in cash. And now, as we follow that particular story, something else worth reporting on, and on a good note, the Kenya COVID-19 Fund has received over 1.2 billion shillings worth of contributions for emergency response drive. Let's look at the breakdown as shared by the chairperson, Jane Karoko. In terms of cash contributions, they stand at over 917 million shillings. Now, this is a combination of corporate and personal contributions. And a key point to note is that some people who have contributed gave 5 shillings. Nothing is too little to give. Now, some people and organizations are in better position to give in kind, and therefore in regard to material resources, that is food and non-food items, the contributions value stands at over 370 million shillings. Now, this coupled with the cash givings brings the total contributions value to over 1.28 billion shillings. The fund leadership says the donations will be utilized to support the government's efforts in the supply of medical facilities and equipment and support for vulnerable communities. Just putting this aside to give an applause for those who have given in kind and various other ways. And again, on that note, a round of applause holds much more than its usual worth, more so for the health workers on the front line who are tirelessly fighting the COVID-19 virus. Through an initiative of the Editors Guild, NTV has launched an initiative, #SaSita, that will now be a weekly thing at midday every Wednesday. At 12 p.m. earlier today, journalists, residents and workers in different sectors came together for a moment to laud the hard work health workers are putting in on a daily basis. This through a round of applause that echoed throughout the nation. There you go. Messages of gratitude coming in from different citizens, streamed in from different parts of the country. A flag appreciating healthcare workers was also seen being flown by the Kenya Air Forces around the city to show that even in these tough times, the effort by the medics continues to soar high.
We love you. Continue doing the good work. We appreciate it.
Bravo for the good work. Congratulations.
Yes. Thanks a lot to all the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses for risking their lives for our sake. Thanks a lot.
And thank you for sending in those contributions. And please do continue to do that as tomorrow, Wednesday, and every other week now following through at midday. We will be stopping what we're doing and just taking a moment to applaud those who are in the front line. On that note, we take a break here. Stay with us.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces and wash white clothes, towels and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Avoid the crowds and use your card. Pay with your Absa debit card at any point of sale. Or better yet, shop online. Stay safe.
Maritime tips brought to you by Kenya Maritime Authority. Precautions for vessel and boat owners, operators, coxswains and passengers. Personal hygiene. Practice frequent hand hygiene, coughing and sneezing etiquette. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces on board the boats and vessels such as steering wheel, safety or guardrails and seats. Crew members, coxswains and passengers to regularly disinfect life jackets. Practice frequent hand washing with soap. Wear a mask on board a boat or vessel. Boat owners and operators to comply with government directives on movement restrictions within counties. Kenya Maritime Authority for safe and efficient water transport.
Birthday party. Birthday party. Are we not invited? We have gifts. Malaria. Mommy, pest. Run.
Oh, die.
Party!
Compared to an ordinary spray, Mortein Doom Power Guard kills disease-causing pests instantly. Mortein Doom Power Guard.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces and wash white clothes, towels and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
As soon as Anna Leticia signs these papers, you're going to be legally divorced.
I spoke with Ana Lucia. I told her the truth.
It's the right thing to do, even if it causes pain for my niece.
What's going to happen to Soledad?
If Ana Lucia knew what that woman did, I don't think she'll feel like ever seeing her again.
She just left like a coward, and as usual, she ran away because she didn't have the guts to face me.
Your mother was always dominated by fear.
She kept me out of selfishness just to fill up the empty space that was left by her own real daughter, Sophia.
The three sides of Anna.
Every day, we endeavor to provide you with the best real estate solutions. Own your dream home at Victory Gardens. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
Welcome back. A middle-aged man who traveled from Kwale to Mbere South Sub-County in Embu was forced to watch his late father's burial from a distance. This was because he was not allowed to mingle with people over fear of the COVID-19 pandemic. Anita Nkonge with more.
The first time in decades, the Bukusu community, both in Kenya and Uganda, will not be dancing to these old age tunes. The disruption caused by the spread of the COVID-19 disease is hitting this tradition hard. Traditional circumcision happens every even year amongst the Bukusu without fail, save for extraordinary times. Cancellation of the event has only happened twice in this community. This year will be the third time that the drums will fall silent here.
Sisi kama Wabukusu tunapendelea mambo ya rubito. Na sasa hii hatuwezi kufanya rubito kama watu wako na kufa. Sasa mimi nasema mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu hakuna ile ambaye itakuwa wanatayarisha watoto. Watoto pia wajue kwamba hii ni disaster.
The Association of Traditional Circumcisers of the Bukusu say their culture allows them to make exceptions to the rule when faced with such calamities as pandemics, famines, and other natural disasters.
Sije uruke sheria ambayo imepitishwa. Nasi tuna sheria yetu ya kupasha tohara sisi. Mpaka serikali nayo itusikie. Si ati tutatii tu sheria kupasha tohara kwa serikali nayo itakuja kwa mila zetu.
Mtoto wangu ndampeleka hospitalini iwapo serikali itatoa amri ya kwamba hii shughuli ya kupasha watoto tohara iendelee. Na iwapo itasema haitakuwa hiyo shughuli, basi mtoto wangu mpaka mwaka utakao kuja.
Although the rites are about 4 months away in August, preparations for the same start early in June. The elders say they're not sure that will be the case this year round. They are not sure whether the COVID pandemic and its impact would have passed by then.
Ule watoto sahi mwezi huu wangekuwa nafanya practice ili wanataka kutairiwa mwezi wa 8. Wazee wanatairisha watoto wao na kadhalika. Lakini saa hii magonjwa hii sio mchezo. Na watu wasichukue kama kutairisha ni ya business. Hii mambo hii ingefaa kabisa mwaka huu sisi tulie watu wetu wale ambao wako wanakufa. Kenya wako wanakufa, Uganda wako wanakufa.
In light of the disruption to the life and routines of this community, the next circumcision exercise will take place in 2022 and will take in 2 groups, this year's batch and those who will have qualified to undergo the rites in 2022. This and next year will be set aside to empathize with those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Apologies for that confusion. Brenda Wanga's report there on the disruption of the cultural procedures and rituals that would normally have been taking place, or at least communities would be planning for. Now to that story from Mbeere, a middle-aged man who traveled from Kwale to Mbeere South sub-county in Embu was forced to watch his late father's burial from afar. This was because he was not allowed to mingle with people who are afraid from at least where he was coming from in the coastal region, and they fear for their own safety. Anita Nkonge now brings that report.
Ismail Ndaru, who works in Diani, Kwale County, secured a permit to travel to Embu. The journey was to go and bid his father a final farewell. His travel from a COVID-19 hotspot added stigma to his difficult time of bereavement.
I have to stay away from the others, nikae mbali na watu because wanaogopa hii ugonjwa. Kwa hivyo ni jambo baya, lakini
according to Ismail, he is under strict instruction to self-quarantine for 14 days, which poses a challenge.
Ukifika kwa familia, nyumba yangu ni moja, kwa hivyo siwezi jitenga sana, tunakaa na wao kwa ile imani niko nayo kupitia kwa Mwenyezi Mungu. Wako safe na pia mimi niko safe na Mungu ataendelea kutulinda.
Ni watu wanatuangalia tu vibaya, lakini tunashirikiana tu mpaka 14 days shiisha ndio tushikane na wao.
Fortunately, Anne had bought enough food before the government instituted containment in Kilifi, Nairobi and Kwale. For a man who has returned home from another county, the situation is even more difficult.
Marafiki waweze kuja kunisalimia njia hii woga.
He says he cautiously came out to be part of the final farewell. The journey was challenging as the rain made the roads impassable. They had to carry the casket for about 1 kilometer. When they got to the homestead, Ismail still had to stand away and watch his father's funeral from a distance. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Technology will increasingly play a big part in the administration of justice in the wake of the coronavirus disease. Chief Justice David Maraga says that physical court sessions will only be conducted over serious crimes where suspects will have to take plea. Minor offenders will be released on bail or bond, failure to which they must report to court. Court documents will be filed electronically and court proceedings will be conducted virtually. This, the Chief Justice says, is because physical court sessions risk accelerating the disease because of the heavy human traffic involved.
This does not mean that the courts have closed down, as some are wanting to claim. Court operations have never and will never be closed. What this means is that the proceedings can only be conducted remotely through increased use of technology, since allowing courtroom interactions would be inimical to the interests of Kenyans, as it would greatly endanger public safety.
With 33 minutes past the hour, we take a break. Business news will be up next.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile? All that in one toothpaste? Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums. Ah, Colgate Herbal. Let's go. Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
Nyaja wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
As soon as Ana Leticia signs these papers, you're going to be legally divorced.
I spoke with Ana Lucia. I told her the truth.
It's the right thing to do, even if it causes pain for my niece.
What's going to happen to Soledad?
If Ana Lucia knew what that woman did, I don't think she'll feel like ever seeing her again.
She just left like a coward, and as usual, she ran away because she didn't have the guts to face me.
Your mother was always dominated by fear.
She kept me out of selfishness just to fill up the empty space that was left by her own real daughter, Sophia.
The three sides of Anna.
Every day, we endeavor to provide you with the best real estate solutions. Own your dream home at Victory Gardens. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
NTV Business News in association with KCB Internet Banking.
Welcome to the business. And business in Ruaka, Kiambu County, has been halted after 4 cases of coronavirus disease were confirmed in the town. Health officials have fumigated the apartment building in which the 4 persons live and have also closed down the adjacent open-air market for disinfection. The county deputy commissioner says no one will be allowed in or out the building unless cleared by health officials. The managers of the building have expressed concerns that more people might be infected because 4 persons interacted freely with everyone. Business is expected to resume in the town soon, but that will have to be after the fumigation is complete.
Kwa sasa other tenants bado wako kwa nyumba, vile unajua kwamba watu wengi hawaendi kazini na wamekuwa kwa nyumba kwa muda. Tumekuwa tukicommunicate na wao tukiwa-update ile ambayo inatendeka kwa sasa. Vile kumekuwa fumigated, inakuwa ni njia moja ya kuwashughulikia.
Ile tunafanya ni kwamba tumefunga biashara kwa minajili ya kupiga dawa nyumba hizi za biashara. Tukipiga dawa tutawapea masaa kadhaa ili dawa isiwadhuru. Halafu business zitarudi kawaida. Hatuna idadi kamili, lakini vile tunajua kuna 5 contacts ambao ndio tunapursue saizi.
Start of April, Kenya had lost 50% of its flower market share in the Dutch auction alone due to the effects of the coronavirus. At the moment, most of the farms that make Kenya a market leader in the export of fresh-cut flowers have cut operations by 70%, in effect affecting the pay of nearly 150,000 people employed in the farms. Bridget Ngana now reports on how dire the situation is from the flower capital of Naivasha.
For the last 18 years, Kwamboka Matunda has served as an employee at a flower farm here in Naivasha. In that time, she never thought that a global pandemic like the coronavirus would now see her on mandatory leave and on half pay.
Sasa ikiendelea hivyo kama ni mshahara nusu kila wakati, maisha ya Naivasha itakuwa ngumu. Juu landlord anahitaji pesa, watoto wanahitaji kukula, watoto wanahitaji kuoga. Sasa naona itakuwa ngumu sana.
In the farms, the world-renowned roses continue to bloom, and instead of being ferried for packaging once plucked, they are thrown away. A massive loss for this 50-hectare farm that has even had to cut on the number of employees on site by half, from 1,200 on any given day. And with the uncertainty presented by the coronavirus, things could go from bad to worse.
We don't have adequate capacity to airlift the product that has a ready market. But now the constraint the bottleneck is the air freight. So what we'll request the government to do is really to assist us on focusing on that, so that we have cargo capacity, we are able to move this product out.
According to the Kenya Flower Council, Kenya's weekly export of 5,000 tons has dropped to 3,500 tons. Already, 10,000 casuals have been laid off due to the global shutdown of economies, and 50,000 employees could lose their jobs in the short term.
Tuliagree kwamba hao wafanyakazi wapewe leave. Second stage ni unpaid leave. The third stage ni hiyo kufanya kazi labda pengine half day for the whole week, for the whole month. Alafu wapate mshahara yake nusu at the end of the month.
Here in Naivasha, the flower capital of the country, the coronavirus is not only threatening the livelihoods of the hundreds of people who depend on this industry, but also the future of an industry that has been a key foreign exchange earner for this nation. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
Beneficiaries of the Inua Jamii program have started accessing the 8.7 billion shillings disbursed by the government, even as some of them fault the government for releasing the funds through banks instead of using mobile money services. In Narok, Kiambu and Nyahururu, beneficiaries flooded various banks to collect their monthly stipend amid concerns of how to reduce risks of the coronavirus infections.
Hundreds of the elderly people on Tuesday flocked KCB Bank in Narok Town to receive their 2,000 shillings monthly stipend under the cash transfer Inua Jamii program.
Na leo sisi tutashinda hapa tuhakikishe kwamba mama wetu, wazee wetu wamepata pesa
na watapata pesa bila waweze kuadhirika na hiyo gonjwa.
The authorities had a difficult time enforcing the social distancing requirements in this time of the coronavirus pandemic. Across the country in Kiambu, a special assistant was assigned to help the elderly. Some of the beneficiaries had their names missing, and the bank attendant asked them to check their details in other institutions that offer the same services. And in Nyahururu, the elderly have faulted the government for asking them to collect the money at various financial institutions instead of paying them through the mobile money.
Na sijakula, sijakunywa, sasa nitarara wapi na nitarudi nyumbani na nini? Na kafyu iko karibu. Sintafikiwa hapa.
They say presenting themselves physically to banks exposes them to coronavirus.
We released the money over the weekend on Saturday. And by yesterday, we have established a command center in the ministry headquarters, and we have confirmation from all the 47 counties that the payment process went smoothly.
Judith Cherono, NTV.
Kenya's internet connectivity is set to be strengthened, with the country expecting to receive a large fleet of Google Loon balloons. The Google Loon project, given a nod by the government in March, is in partnership with Telkom Kenya and uses balloons traveling on the edge of space to deliver connectivity to underserved communities. The balloons are headed to Kenya after successful launch from Loon's launch site in Puerto Rico this week, and are set to serve the country as thousands are forced to work from home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Residents in Nairobi, Machakos, Nyeri, Nakuru, Kitui, Nanyuki, Narok, and Kisii, have been identified as the first beneficiaries of the project. Small-scale tea farmers in some parts of Murang'a County are counting losses due to the curfew, which they say has made them scale down the volumes of tea that they pick. The farmers said that those with a lot of tea bushes are even forced to spend the night at the tea collection centers after the curfew caught up with them, waiting for the lorries to collect their tea. The farmers are now urging the government to allow KTDA to give farmers who have their own vehicles and motorbikes permission to go ahead and deliver to the factories directly in order to reduce traffic at the collection centers. They say in the days before the curfew, they waited until 9 p.m. For the factory-owned lorries to collect their tea, and now with the curfew, they have to wait up to 2 days. The farmers also backed the new tea regulations tabled by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, calling for a standard payment of fees to the management agents.
Si tunangoja gari siku mbili ya majani chai. Kwa hivyo tungeomba KTDA ipatie mkulima ruhusa majani yake akileta kwa center, kukiwa na giza anajipelekea yeye mwenyewe. Taka kampuni zote za majani chai siwe na 2 directors, kwa sababu tumeona wakati corona iko hakuna director hata mmoja anaenda factory na mambo inaendelea vizuri.
Wamama ndio wamefinyirika kwa hii kitu sana, sababu wamama wengi ndio uchuna majani, wao ndio upeleka kwa buying center, na hii pesa yote imekuwa ikikuliwa na cartels ama inaenda mikononi mwa watu wenye hawafai. Kwa hivyo nataka hiyo maneno yote kama ni cartels itolewe, ndio sasa mkulima apate haki yake.
And that's it from the business desk. We'll have some politics after this. Special times these are. Politics at the third part of the bulletin just before the sports. Stay with us.
NTV Business News in association with KCB Internet Banking.
We can always talk about your account, online, whenever you like.
Register at your nearest branch for KCB Internet Banking today.
Wajua wanasema food has memory, and those who nourish you are never forgotten. Unakumbuka the auntie who made sure you shibat? We jamaa wa nyama, ule anakuwekea nyama poa ya choma. The dere, happy to share your takeaway. Na huyo mama wa chai, ule ana warm your lunch before you ata uliza. Your mama mboga, ule anakuongezea ata nyanya. Ule waiter kusava haraka haraka. Na ule mandazi lady, ule anakuwekea ndao moja ya baadaye. Na your boda boda rider, ule jamaa kufikisha haraka haraka. Now this is the time to let them know they are not forgotten. This is the time to make sure every table in Kenya has food on it. The points on your phone can be food in their home. When you sit with a plate of food today, pledge to stand for someone who has put food before you. Dial *126# to transfer your bonga points now so they can buy food and necessities at any outlet with a Lipa na M-Pesa till.
Safaricom is for you.
Good morning, Janet.
Wow! And you are?
I'm Casey. Now help you with anything to do with your KCB bank account. Pay bills, transfers, statements.
You're hired.
I'm your internet banking security ninja. I'm your 24/7 personal assistant.
Super.
So, we can always talk about your account, online, whenever you like. Need a ride?
Let's go.
Alrighty, with you anywhere, anytime.
Register at your nearest branch for KCB Internet Banking today.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Nyaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of a respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Discovered the world-famous Molfix and saw the difference. Let's see how absorbent Molfix is. Molfix, thanks to its ultra-absorbent particles, can keep more liquid than the other diaper brand, so you can use it comfortably all day long. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
The strength of a nation is largely determined by the ability of its people to be food secure. For them to be able to produce food not only to feed themselves, but to sell and make a living while at it. Through various stakeholders, this has revolved around the access to farm inputs, crop diversification, creation and access of markets, distribution channels for produce, and access to information. However, farmers are now having to deal with the continuous challenge of climate change.
Smallholder farmers in Kenya have been faced with a double whammy. They're dealing with the health crisis that's coming because of COVID-19. They are also trying to fight off the scourge of the desert locust.
On Wednesday, 22nd April 2020, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum from 7 p.m. on NTV. It shall delve into various issues that affect farmers and seek solutions into what is needed for Kenya to become a food-secure country.
Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation.
As soon as Ana Leticia signs these papers, you're going to be legally divorced.
I spoke with Ana Lucia. I told her the truth.
It's the right thing to do, even if it causes pain for my niece.
What's going to happen to Soledad?
If Ana Lucia knew what that woman did, I don't think she'll feel like ever seeing her again.
She just left like a coward, and as usual, she ran away because she didn't have the guts to face me.
Your mother was always dominated by fear.
She kept me out of selfishness just to fill up the empty space that was left by her own real daughter, Sophia.
The 3 sides of Anna.
Every day, we endeavor to provide you with the best real estate solutions. Own your dream home at Victory Gardens. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
Now to some politics. Deputy President William Ruto and his allies are said to be planning a total takeover of the Jubilee Party. The party's Deputy Secretary General Caleb Kositany, Ruto ally, has written to party members asking them to disregard any communication from Raphael Tuju, his boss. NTV's senior political affairs reporter Kennedy Moreithi tells us that Ruto allies are vowing to fight for the party's control, kufa na kupona, yani tooth and nail.
A new center of power is emerging at Jubilee House as wrangles over how the party should be run intensify. MPs allied to Deputy President William Ruto want legal action taken against Secretary General Raphael Tuju, alleging that he forged documents forwarded to the Registrar of Political Parties to validate nomination of new members to the National Management Committee.
The chairman and the SG are under investigation because of the purported meeting they claim to have had on the 10th. And they went ahead and signed false minutes. They falsified minutes of an NMC organ, an organ of the party called the National Management Committee, which has not been actualized by the NEC.
The two plus Vice Chairperson David Murathe are viewed as key opponents of DP Ruto and are out to ensure they stifle his ambitions to take over control of the party. In a letter to party members, Kositany, who is Tuju's deputy, wants Ruto's followers to ignore Tuju and only rely on his word on party matters.
Let members of Jubilee, the millions of members, 8 million or so members who are registered as Jubilee members, let them know that whatever Tuju writes, if it is right, I will write a letter and say that is correct. If it is wrong, then I will write a letter to set the record straight.
The Registrar of Political Parties last week referred the dispute over the nomination of members to the NMC to the party organs, and this has been taken as a win by DP Ruto's side.
We will read the Constitution thoroughly and see where there is an opportunity for us to have a meeting. If the party leader is busy, then we shall definitely have a meeting, because the party must be run as per the Constitution.
No changes can be effected unless the National Executive Committee have agreed. That is the only way we are going to strengthen our internal democracy and strengthen better decision within our party.
Party leaders deemed to be on the president's side are of the view that all decisions made by Tuju have the president's blessings, and fighting him is a direct challenge to the president.
These issues or these changes that were effected were done long before this COVID issue. In fact, what came out the other day was after what we call returns that were done, the annual returns that are done by parties.
This is a 20th century where you cannot purport to do things in the dark and expect that you are going to run away with. As members of Jubilee Party, our internal rules and regulations are very clear.
Last week, Gatondo South MP Moses Kuria asked pro-Ruto Jubilee MPs to work from Jubilee House starting Monday this week. This disregarding a letter dispatched on the 16th of March from the executive director asking all staff to work from home.
Our option number 1 is Jubilee, our option number 2 is Jubilee, our option number 3 is Jubilee. So we don't have any other party that we're looking at. We are not negotiating with any other party. Unlike Murathe and his folk who have been talking of a merger with ODM and KANU, so they're free to join those parties.
The handshake that has been symbolic of the Jubilee Party denotes the efforts that were made to bring all 13 parties together and form one formidable one that actually went ahead to form the party in 2013 and 2017. But however, those efforts may just go down the drain as constant wrangling continues to be the order of the day in Jubilee. As one party allied to Deputy President William Ruto insists that they will do nothing else other than take over the party, while another allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta continues to hold that every decision that is made comes from the party leader and should be respected. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Jubilee headquarters in Pangani, Nairobi County.
Here's something to look forward to in your daily tomorrow. What does the crash, in crude oil prices mean for Kenyans? The price of U.S. oil dived into negative for the first time in history. The negative price means traders were paying buyers to take the oil off their hands. Should Kenyans too expect to be paid by oil companies to fuel their vehicles? In your Daily Nation tomorrow, find out why life in Kenya could get cheaper if the prevailing falling global oil prices continues. And we'll be looking at the sports after the break. Stay with us.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight. Clean Soft kicks out stains Kimateki.
Have you shared your bonga points with someone who needs them? Remember to help a friend or anyone in need to buy food using your bonga points. Stay at home, but still stay together with your loved ones and friends using bonga points. Share your story or video of how you've helped a fellow Kenyan to our FB page NTV Kenya, Twitter page at NTV Kenya, Instagram at NTV Kenya, SMS 20686 or our WhatsApp number 0745 925 002.
Why is food security so important now? And why does it matter for smallholder farmers? Well, smallholder farmers comprise 70% of Kenya's population. They are the backbone and have to be at the center of any intervention that is looking at food security. But we really need to look at the entire food value chain if we're going to make sure that food security is secured for all Kenyans. Join me on Wednesday at the Leadership Forum with NTV as we discuss this important question of food security in a time of COVID-19.
Nation Leadership Forum, engaging society, impacting the nation.
As soon as Ana Leticia signs these papers, you're going to be legally divorced.
I spoke with Ana Lucia. I told her the truth.
It's the right thing to do, even if it causes pain for my niece.
What's going to happen to Soledad?
If Ana Lucia knew what that woman did, I don't think she'll feel like ever seeing her again.
She just left like a coward, and as usual, she ran away because she didn't have the guts to face me.
Your mother was always dominated by fear.
She kept me out of selfishness just to fill up the empty space that was left by her own real daughter, Sophia.
The three sides of Anna.
Every day, we endeavor to provide you with the best real estate solutions. Own your dream home at Victory Gardens. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
And from the sports desk and disputes tribunal chairman John Ohaga, or Ohanga as my director Mike thought it was, has ruled that the term of office of the Football Kenya Federation's National Executive Committee had ended. Ohaga spoke during the mention of a case in which he nullified FKF polls last month. He also expressed surprise over what he termed as a change in position by the World Football's governing body FIFA during discussions. The session was conducted via video link, which is in line with the recent decision by the judiciary to halt physical court sessions as a way of curbing the spread of COVID-19. Ohaga had earlier requested FIFA to help form a normalization committee to run football in the country in the interim and organize fresh elections for a third term, but football's world governing body responded by calling for talks between stakeholders for the sake of peace. The issue of football players taking pay cuts as a result of the coronavirus pandemic has elicited a huge debate across the world, and it's no different here in Kenya. The difference, however, is in the clubs and players' capacity to survive effects of COVID-19, considering that the KPL was already in a choking financial crunch prior to the pandemic. Prolific Kakamega Homeboys striker Alan Wanga chimes into the conversation.
In Kenya, players earn very little, and every day someone goes to the pitch out there, you train, you play on weekends, and you expect to get maybe winning bonuses. And when it reaches to a point that now you are told, like a club, you have to get that pay cut. You know, it's not easy because most of the players I know from Kakamega Homeboys, most of them, they come from Nairobi. It means they have families in Nairobi, they pay rent in Nairobi, and since they are playing in Kakamega, they also have to pay rent in Kakamega. So if you are getting, maybe you are being paid 60,000, now you are being told you'll be paid 30,000. You have to pay rent in Nairobi and pay rent in Kakamega, take care of your family, something that is not easy.
The COVID-19 pandemic has forced the sports fraternity to reflect on the actions and, of course, the issues that have left many people cash-strapped. And off-pitch, innovation has surged. Gor Mahia fan Jaro Soja has found a business opportunity to market the club by manufacturing face masks for fans of Kenya's most successful club.
Football and fashion. Two things that Jaro Soldier has managed to merge with a practical twist: prevention of coronavirus. Gor Mahia's most famous fan is now making face masks to fight COVID-19 to show his love for the reigning Kenya Premier League champions and make a profit.
Imekuwa ni ngumu sana sisi kama watu wa Gor Mahia, kama asai hatuwezi enda stadium kwa sababu ya COVID-19. Ndio maana nilikuja na idea ya kutengenezea Gor Mahia fans COVID-19 masks, face masks. And as you can see, the message is very clear. It says stop COVID-19.
While the Ministry of Health has warned against the efficacy of decorative face masks, Jaro guarantees top quality while urging fellow fans to follow the measures and guidelines set aside by the government to combat the pandemic.
Tunawe mkono na tufanye to sanitize. Kwa hivyo hata wewe junior yako anaweza pata yake kama hii ya Jaro Soja Junior. Kwa hivyo hata watoto, watu wazima lazima wavae mask. Valisha mtoto mask na wewe pia uvae mask yako.
As of the KPL suspension in mid-March, Gor Mahia were perched atop the standings with 54 points from 23 matches, 7 points more than second-place Kakamega Homeboys, who had a game in hand.
Siwezi enda kusabikia hata team sababu sasa COVID-19 imefunga kila kitu.
The 2020 top tier was already in a choking financial crunch prior to the suspension, and with severe effects of the pandemic, it's a wait-and-see game to see how the Football Kenya Federation and league stakeholders will navigate the situation.
Now, the topic of pay cut continues. Arsenal's first-team player and head coach Mikel Arteta has agreed to pay cut to help with the financial impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The Premier League club said the voluntary agreement sees those involved have their annual earnings reduced by 12.5%. The club's